Hello everyone, this is Kingrats here. Welcome back to the channel, guys. And today I'm back with another episode on the Eliminated series for the NHL Stanley Cup Playoffs. Last night we saw a number of teams get eliminated in the first round, having lost their series respectively. The Eastern Conference now is officially completed for the first round, with the Ottawa Senators falling to the Toronto Maple Leafs in the first round in 6 games. Of course, I will also be making some videos on the Western Conference, which you should expect to see either later today or tomorrow. I'm just, a little bit busy right now, so I'm going to try my best to get these videos up when I can. Looking at the Battle of Ontario, particularly in this video, I'm going to be going through mainly the Ottawa Senators and analyzing basically how their season went, what went wrong with them in this series against the Leafs, and particular what their offseason is going to look like. So, of course, if you guys enjoy my content, please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more content if you like this one. And without further ado, let's get into it. So looking at this series, it was obviously in a lot of headlines considering that this was the first time Toronto and Ottawa were facing each other in the playoffs in over 20 years. This Senators team is a completely revamped core. It took them a number of years of rebuilding, but they finally made the playoffs this year in what was their first run in the postseason since 2017. And of course, there was a lot of excitement building into the playoffs. For the Sens, they went through a number of changes over the last few years, of course, with the change in ownership, getting Michael Andlauer to buy the team a couple years ago, Steve Staios becoming the new GM, and this past offseason they brought in Travis Green to become their new head coach. And his coaching style and philosophy has really changed the Sens team and how they've been made up for this season. And it ultimately got them a playoff spot. They finished as the top wildcard team in the Eastern Conference. And of course, it's poetic that they had to face the Leafs in the first round in their first appearance in a while. And honestly, out of all the series in the playoffs, obviously I'm going to be talking more in this video because this was really the only series that I can frequently watch because I'm really busy at this moment. So this is really the only time I actually got to watch a lot of hockey. And when it comes to Ottawa, I really thought that, this is, even though they were a heavy underdog going into the first round of the playoffs this year, they didn't really look like one. They seemed like an actual, like, pretty steady team. And for a group that had really not a lot of playoff experience outside of guys like Claude Giroux and David Perron, they had a pretty solid run. And things looked shaky in the beginning. And most people will certainly point out the lack of discipline. That's what killed the Senators early in this series. In Game 1, they got blown out due to them taking a lot of penalties, and the Leafs were capitalizing on the power play quite effectively there. And honestly, the Sens played a pretty solid game. If you look at the analytical numbers, you can very well see that the Sens were pretty much dominating in puck possession and in total shots across most of the first 4 games. And they did a very good job of really limiting the Leafs' chances in the offensive zone and really hemming them in their own end. Toronto had to rely on their defensive shell and their goaltending to really stay in this series. Obviously, Ottawa was just a little bit unlucky considering that they lost consecutive overtime games in games 2 and 3, and that really put them in that early hole. I think the biggest thing with the Sens is that because they were playing with house money this postseason, that there really wasn't any pressure on them to win, and certainly they took that as an advantage, and they knew about the Toronto market and how the Leafs were going to be a lot of pressure to win this series, that they had to basically just play their game. For the Sens, they did an admirable job of doing that. After Game 3, when we saw in Game 4 that the series started to become a lot tighter, that the Sens were doing a good job of maintaining their game, but also they were getting, like, number one, better goaltending, especially from Linus Ullmark because he struggled early in the series, and the team was becoming a lot more lucky on their chances. They were converting a little bit more on the power play, they were being a lot more opportunistic, and they were also getting some luck on the shorthanded style of the game, so that was really good. Of course, the Game 4 overtime win was really big for them. Game 5, they really proved that they could maybe turn this whole thing around when they shut out Toronto at home, and that got a lot of people going. And Game 6 was a game that certainly the Sens were within reach, and they could have very well tried to take this game, but just a little bit of a bad bounce here or there, and ultimately it's a goal by Max Pacioretty who ends up winning this series for Toronto, and the Sens just ran out of luck. But you know what? It's a respectable end for their postseason, considering what the franchise has been through for the last couple of years now. This is a pretty decent way to end off a year, and really, in my opinion, the only way is up for this core. If you watched any of the press conferences or read any articles when the series ended, Brady Tkachuk showed a bit of emotion in the locker room, and you could see veteran guys like Drew and Perron who were really showing how it sucks, but they can see the growth in the group over there. So if you're a Sens fan, stay optimistic. Really, this is only the beginning of what should be a very healthy run of a group of players who should be consistent threats in the playoffs and making it, and hopefully having some success. Most likely, Ottawa should make some improvements this offseason. Last offseason, they did bring in some more notable veterans and definitely improved their goaltending. So maybe this time around, they can build up their depth or maybe find a way to fine-tune the guys that they have, because they do have a number of young players. Perhaps really the only thing that they can do is tinker around the edges. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see how things go. But if they do decide to strike big at free agency, who knows what this team could look like. But as I mentioned in my Montreal Canadiens video, certainly the Sens are a team that could very well threaten the top three teams in the Atlantic that we saw this season for the next few years, and we could see a very serious changing of the guard, and the Sens could very well be part of that. But yeah, for Ottawa, this is the end of the line. We'll see how things go for them. Of course, the Leafs will be playing the Florida Panthers in the second round of the Stanley Cup Playoffs, so that should be a marquee series that you got to watch going forward. But yeah, for Ottawa, a good run. It sucks that it had to end the way it did, but it was better than not making the playoffs, right? And pretty sure the Sens fans understand that. But anyway, I'm going to end it off here. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please, once again, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel for more content like this, and I'll see you all in my next video.